Maybe you just clicked out of curiosity, or maybe, without even realizing it, you were looking for a quiet place where words come slowly and silence is part of the conversation. I wrote this story gently, like stitching together memories, pain, and small discoveries, hoping that somewhere along the way, you might see yourself in it. If you do, even for a moment, stay a while. Listen as long as you can, and if you feel like it, leave a little sign. It doesn't have to be anything big. Sometimes just a quiet, "I'm here," can change everything. If this resonates with you, a like, a share, or a comment means more than you know. And if you want to hear more stories like this, feel free to subscribe. It's always good to have you here. It was one of those rare summer Sundays in upstate New York when the weather felt like it was designed for a perfect family barbecue. The sun was warm but not oppressive. A light breeze carried the smell of grilled corn and burgers across my parents' backyard, and faint jazz hummed from Dad's old outdoor speakers. Kids were darting across the lawn chasing bubbles, their laughter mixing with the sizzle of the grill. I parked a little down the gravel driveway, already spotting my younger sister Brianna twirling in her new yellow sundress like she was auditioning for a lifestyle commercial. She had a glass of sparkling water in one hand, her phone in the other, angled just right for an Instagram story. That was classic Brianna, always camera ready, always the star. Beside me in the back seat, my 6-year-old son Eli fidgeted with the buttons on his bright blue polo. He had insisted on wearing it because, in his words, "It makes me look like a grown-up, Mom." My sweet, timid boy. He still refused to dunk his head underwater during bath time, and the deep end of a pool might as well have been the ocean to him. As soon as we walked into the backyard, Brianna spotted him and smirked. "Oh my gosh, Eli, that blue shirt makes you look like a little old man. Did Grandma dress you?" She laughed, loud enough for everyone to hear. My dad chuckled softly. My mom rolled her eyes but said nothing, her attention focused on the skewers she was brushing with marinade. I felt that familiar pang in my chest, the one I always got when Brianna teased, and my parents silently allowed it. I set down our fruit salad on the picnic table and tried to shake it off. "Don't make this a thing," I told myself. "It's just one afternoon, one peaceful day." Eli clung to my leg for a second before cautiously wandering toward the edge of the pool, his paper plate stacked with a single hot dog and a few grapes. I watched him like a hawk, though from a distance. It was his way of feeling grown up, having space to explore. My mom's voice floated over. "Honey, can you grab the lemonade from the cooler?" I hesitated for just a second, glancing between her and my son, before walking toward the patio. Behind me, I could hear Brianna talking to my dad about her latest brand collab and the trip she wanted to take to Miami for content. On the surface, everything looked perfect, sunlight shimmering on the pool, the smell of grilled food in the air, and my family laughing like we were the picture of suburban happiness. But under that shiny surface, I could feel it, the familiar, quiet tension. The small digs. The way my parents' eyes lit up for Brianna's stories but glazed over when I spoke. I told myself to breathe, to enjoy the day, to keep the peace. I had no idea that in a few minutes that peace would shatter, and nothing about our family would ever be the same again. Eli shuffled along the edge of the pool, his small hands gripping a flimsy paper plate topped with one hot dog and a few grapes. His steps were deliberate, careful, like he knew one wrong move could ruin the shirt he was so proud of. I hovered nearby, half listening to my mom talk about the marinade she was famous for, while keeping one eye locked on my son. The sunlight danced on the water, reflecting little ripples of blue and gold onto his face. He looked so proud of himself for being brave enough to walk near the pool. "Mom, can you grab the lemonade? My mom's voice pulled my attention for just a second. I turned toward the cooler under the patio table. Literally 2 seconds. Then, splash! The sound was sharp, violent, out of place against the hum of jazz and casual laughter. My heart stopped. I spun around, and for half a second my brain refused to process what I saw. Eli was gone from the edge. Then I saw him, his little arms flailing in the deep end, his face a mix of shock and terror as he sank under and bobbed back up. Water splashed in frantic arcs around him. My scream tore out of me before I even realized it. Eli! I didn't kick off my shoes or think twice. I just dove. Cold water wrapped around me like a fist, and my lungs burned as I reached for him. His polo was heavy, his tiny body slippery in panic, but I wrapped my arm around his chest and kicked toward the steps with everything I had. We burst from the water, both gasping, and I hauled him onto the concrete. He clung to me with a desperation that cut through my heart like glass. His teeth chattered, and his small hands shook against my wet shirt. And then I heard it. Laughter. Not the nervous kind. Not the relieved, thank God he's okay kind. It was sharp, cruel, and it came from my sister. Brianna stood there, phone in hand, smirking. Oh, relax. It was just a little nudge. He looked like he needed to cool off. I mean, what's the point of having a pool if nobody uses it? I froze, my heart still hammering in my chest, water dripping from my hair into Eli's face. I looked to my parents instinctively, waiting for the outrage, the scolding, anything. My dad just shrugged, lifting his beer. Well, maybe he should learn to swim. Life doesn't always wait until you're ready. And my mom, with that soft, infuriating tone, said, Honey, don't make this bigger than it is. Brianna's always playful. Playful. Eli's lips were trembling, his cheeks pale from fear and cold. He tucked his face into my shoulder, and through tiny, shuddering breaths, he whispered words that split me open. Why does Aunt Brianna hate me? I held him tighter, feeling his little heart race against mine. For a long second, all I heard was the sound of water dripping from his soaked polo and the echo of their laughter behind me. And right then, something shifted inside me. I knelt on the pool deck, still dripping, clutching Eli against my chest. His tiny body shook, and every cough from his little lungs twisted a knife deeper in my stomach. My heart was racing, waiting, begging for someone to acknowledge what had just happened. And then I heard Brianna's voice. She was laughing, phone in hand, recording like this was some viral prank. Oh my God, can he even swim? Her words sliced through the air like ice water. I whipped my head toward my parents, expecting, hoping, for the anger I felt to be mirrored in their faces. But instead, my dad casually took a sip of his beer and muttered, almost bored, Well, he should probably learn to swim anyway. Life doesn't wait for you to be ready. My mom didn't even look embarrassed. She just waved a hand like she was swatting away a fly. Sweetheart, don't make this a bigger deal than it is. Brianna's always playful. You know that. Playful. That word echoed in my head like a cruel joke. Eli whimpered and buried his face deeper into my shoulder. His wet polo clung to his skin, and his little hands gripped my shirt as if letting go would mean sinking again. His lips trembled, and I could feel his silent question before he even whispered it. Mom, why does Aunt Brianna hate me? I swallowed hard, but no words came out, because in that moment, I realized something. This family would never protect him. I didn't yell, I didn't argue, I didn't beg them to see how wrong they were. I just stood up, still soaked, carried Eli to the car, and left. No one tried to stop me. That night, Eli lay curled in his bed, hair still damp from a careful bath, a low fever warming his forehead. His eyes were puffy and red, not just from pool water, but from betrayal. I sat beside him, stroking his hair, feeling that heavy, familiar weight in my chest. I thought about the years of small humiliations, the birthday parties forgotten, the favoritism shrugged off because that's just how families are. And now this. As I watched my son finally drift into a restless sleep, I made a silent promise. They just opened the door to a war they don't even see coming. I wasn't going to scream or beg. I wasn't going to let them gaslight me again. This time, I would fight back the quiet way, calm, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. The next morning, the sun filtered weakly through my blinds, but I barely noticed. I had spent most of the night sitting on the edge of Eli's bed, listening to his soft sniffles and feeling the fever heat against my palm. My mind kept replaying the sound of the splash, the laughter, and my son's broken whisper. Why does Aunt Brianna hate me? By 8 a.m., I was done being the quiet, reasonable daughter. I picked up my phone and called my parents. My voice was steady, but my pulse raced. I need the backyard camera footage from yesterday, now. There was a pause. Then my dad sighed. Honey, I don't think that's necessary. It was just a family accident. I clenched my jaw. Dad, she pushed him. He could have drowned. I need the footage. Mom chimed in, her voice clipped. We're not giving you anything. You're overreacting and trying to make Brianna look bad. Click. They hung up. I stared at my phone, my hands trembling. Not with fear this time, but with resolve. I knew the house had multiple security cameras. My dad installed them after a neighbor's shed got broken into last year. And I also knew that cloud storage meant copies existed somewhere. So I called Dana Sharp, a family law attorney I'd met at a local parenting seminar. She was known for being calm, precise, and ruthless when needed. Within hours, Dana had filed an emergency preservation request to the security company, citing potential evidence in a case of child endangerment. She warned me, they'll try to stonewall you, maybe even delete it, but the cloud doesn't lie. And she was right. That evening, I got an email with a secure link. My hands shook as I clicked play. There it was, crystal clear, Brianna leaning against a lounge chair, glancing at the camera, smirking. Eli shuffling past the deep end with his paper plate. A deliberate nudge, a flash of water. My dad watching from the grill, shrugging. My mom laughing softly in the background. Oh, Brianna. Then, for a moment, I couldn't breathe. I hit pause and just stared at the frozen frame. My son, mid-fall, terror on his little face, while the three people who should have protected him did nothing. My phone buzzed. Dana again. You've got your case, and she's got a pattern. We can make this count. I closed my laptop, my chest tight, but my mind crystal clear. This time, I will not be silent. 2 days later, Eli's fever had finally broken, but he still clung to me like a shadow. He wouldn't go near the bathtub without trembling, and the sound of running water made him shiver. Every time I looked into his wide, wary eyes, the anger in my chest hardened into something sharper. Resolve. I wasn't going to yell at my parents or argue with Brianna. That was the old me, the one they could dismiss with a laugh or an eye roll. This time, I was going to move in silence and let the consequences speak for me. The first step was legal. With Dana's guidance, I filed an emergency petition in family court for a protective order, citing child endangerment and emotional trauma. Our goal: restrict Brianna from any contact with Eli, limit my parents' access until a safety evaluation could be done. Dana said, calm as ever, Judges don't take kindly to a child nearly drowning while adults laughed. We'll let the footage do the talking. The second step was strategic silence in the real world. Brianna loved to flaunt her life as the fun aunt online. Her entire influencer brand was built around sponsored family-friendly content, pool parties, kids' toys, and lifestyle tips. I knew exactly which brands she'd tagged in her stories from that barbecue. I drafted a simple, factual email to each one, attached the security footage, briefly described the incident. My 6-year-old son was pushed into a pool for a social media stunt and nearly drowned. Added one line, "This is the person currently representing your family-safe brand." Then I hit send and waited. The first response came within 24 hours. Brand 1. Effective immediately, we are terminating our partnership with Ms. Brianna Carter. Safety is our top priority. The second response was careful but ominous. Brand 2. We are reviewing this footage and reevaluating our partnership to ensure brand safety and values alignment. It was the start of a quiet avalanche. That night, my phone buzzed. A group text from my mom lit up the screen. Mom. Why would you ruin your sister's career? It was just a joke. Dad. You're blowing this out of proportion. We raised you better than to attack family. I stared at the messages for a long moment, then turned my phone face down. They still didn't get it. This wasn't about revenge. This was about protection. And while they were busy defending their golden child, I was building a case that would strip away the shield of favoritism they'd wrapped her in for years. I knew the silence wouldn't last forever. 3 days after the brand pulled her contract, my phone buzzed with a notification. Brianna had gone live on Instagram. I hesitated, then clicked in. There she was, sitting in her perfectly staged living room, soft lighting haloing her hair, mascara running slightly for maximum sympathy. Her voice trembled as she spoke into the camera. I can't believe my own sister would do this to me. I made one mistake. One. And now she's trying to ruin my career because she's always been jealous of me. She sent videos to my sponsors. She's trying to destroy me, and for what? Attention? The comments were a split between heart emojis and shocked faces. A few die-hard fans typed, "Stay strong, Queen." But I also saw the first cracks forming. Wait, did you really push a kid? An hour later, my phone lit up again. Family group text. Dad. You need to stop this nonsense before it goes too far. Mom. Your sister is heartbroken. We will sue if we have to. Take down whatever you sent. And then a separate message, this time directly from Brianna. Hope you have a good lawyer. You're about to need one. By the next week, the threat became reality. Brianna filed a lawsuit for $180,000, claiming I'd caused irreparable damage to her reputation and cost her brand deals. According to her complaint, I was waging a personal vendetta fueled by envy. Dana read it over calmly, then looked at me and smirked. This is a scare tactic, and frankly, she's walking into a trap. Then, out of nowhere, an anonymous email arrived in my inbox. Subject: You're not the only one she's hurt. Attached were documents and screenshots. A breadcrumb trail of Brianna's history. Emails from a kid's clothing brand cutting ties after she posted a reckless pool video 2 years ago. A complaint from a mother who said Brianna nearly knocked over my toddler at a sponsored event. Even an old high school report about repeated bullying of younger students, complete with teacher notes. I stared at the files, my hands cold. Whoever this was, they knew exactly what I needed. She thinks she's untouchable. Let's see how she handles the truth. By the end of the week, Brianna had built her social media narrative of being the betrayed sister. And my parents were fully in her corner, parroting her words about jealousy and family loyalty. But now, I had more than a case. I had a pattern. And someone out there wanted the world to see it. The day of the hearing, arrived with a heavy air of tension. The courthouse was packed, not just with family, but with curious neighbors, local reporters, and a few familiar faces from the parenting groups I'd quietly mentioned the case to. Brianna entered the courtroom wearing an immaculate white blouse and a calm, composed expression, the perfect picture of the wronged victim. Her makeup was flawless, and her posture screamed confidence, as if she'd already rehearsed the pity play 1,000 times. Behind her, my parents sat side by side, their eyes flickering with a mix of disdain and cold calculation every time they glanced my way. It was clear. To them, I was the problem. When it was our turn, Dana stood, her demeanor cool but commanding. She started by playing the footage we had painstakingly gathered, this time slowed down and with the audio amplified. The room fell utterly silent as the video showed Eli teetering by the pool's edge, then the shove. Then came the sound that no one could ignore, Brianna's sharp, mocking laugh, followed by her chilling words, "Can he even swim?" The judge adjusted his glasses and fixed Brianna with a steely glare. But Brianna wasn't done yet. She called her own tech expert to the stand and played a video that appeared to clear her. Cut and edited footage suggesting Eli slipped on his own. The courtroom buzzed. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Dana raised an eyebrow and requested to examine the metadata of the clip. A forensic specialist confirmed that the footage had been manipulated, frames removed and audio altered. The judge's expression darkened. Tampering with evidence is a serious offense. This court takes such actions very seriously. After hours of arguments, the judge finally spoke. The court finds sufficient evidence of child endangerment. Therefore, a protective order is granted to restrict Ms. Brianna Carter from any contact with Eli Harper. Furthermore, Mr. and Mrs. Harper's visitation rights regarding Eli shall be supervised until further review. Brianna's confident mask faltered. Her face paled. My parents sat frozen, eyes wide, unable to hide their shock. For the first time, the scale had tipped. As we left the courtroom, Brianna spat over her shoulder. "You think this is over? You're nothing without drama." I just smiled quietly. Then maybe I'll finally find some peace. After the courtroom victory, the weight on my shoulders lifted slightly, but the hardest part was still ahead. Eli wouldn't even go near a pool. The sound of water running from the faucet made him flinch. Bath time had become a quiet battle, with him clutching tightly to the side of the tub, eyes wide and frightened. I realized that what Eli needed wasn't just safety, it was healing. So, I enrolled him in a local swim therapy program designed specifically for children who'd experienced trauma. The instructor, a gentle woman named Claire, specialized in trauma-sensitive teaching. She explained how the program helped kids regain confidence in water by focusing on small, positive experiences rather than pressure or performance. The first few sessions were tough. Eli clung to me, refusing to put his face anywhere near the water. But Claire was patient, letting him dip toes and splash at his own pace. One afternoon, as the sun filtered through the windows of the indoor pool, Eli surprised me. He kicked his legs tentatively in the shallow end. Then, slowly, he looked over his shoulder and smiled, a real, bright smile, at me. "Mom, watch this." I fought back tears behind my sunglasses, heart swelling with relief and pride. That moment wasn't just about learning to swim, it was about reclaiming safety, trust, and joy. At home, life felt quieter, softer. I had moved us into a small cottage near a lake, away from the chaos and judgment of my parents' house. Eli's laughter began to fill the air again. Not the frightened whimpers, but genuine, light-hearted joy. For the first time in a long while, I felt like we were healing. Just when I thought the dust might finally start to settle, a new storm hit, this time from an unexpected front. a popular investigative podcast known for exposing influencer scandals, reached out. They'd heard whispers about Brianna's reckless behavior, and after reviewing some of the footage and documents I shared, they launched a deep dive into her past. Episode after episode aired, peeling back layers no one in my family dared speak about. Stories of Brianna bullying younger kids in school, humiliating them in front of teachers. Multiple complaints from event organizers about her careless behavior around children. Ex-employees and interns sharing tales of a toxic work environment under her watch. The podcast struck a nerve. Social media erupted. Hashtags like #Brianna Exposed trended. In the wake of the public backlash, every brand Brianna had worked with dropped her like a hot potato. Emails flooded in. We regret to inform you that your partnership with our company is terminated effective immediately. Her countersuit demanding damages? It crumbled in court. Not only did she lose, but she was also ordered to pay for my legal fees. A bitter irony not lost on me. Then came a quiet moment that caught me off guard. A card arrived in the mail, handwritten in childish scrawl. I can swim now, but I swim far from you. It was from Eli, addressed to my parents. I held the card close, tears blurring my vision as I whispered to myself, "This isn't just a victory, it's a new beginning." After months of healing, Eli and I finally found a place that felt like home. A cozy little house tucked beside a quiet lake, far from the noise and shadows of the past. The mornings were filled with soft sunlight, the scent of pine trees, and the gentle lapping of water against the shore. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace settling into my bones. One warm afternoon, I stood on the weathered dock, watching Eli as he stood at the edge of the lake. The old fear was gone from his eyes, replaced by something new. Confidence. Without hesitation, he stepped off the dock and splashed into the water, his arms slicing through the sunlit surface with ease. He glanced back at me, face glowing with pride and pure joy. "Mom, watch me swim!" I smiled, tears prickling behind my sunglasses. As I wrapped him in a towel later that day, I whispered softly, "Family isn't just about blood. Family is the person who jumps into the water when you need saving." Eli laughed, a full, carefree laugh, and in that moment, I knew we were finally free. Fade out with the image of Eli swimming under the golden sunset, fearless and free.